I get asked this question quite often. How do you start game collecting? Everyone loves to comment, hey, I want to start game collecting, what do I do? And for me, I always have to think about this because when I started game collecting, it was about 10 years ago, at least really game collecting. And honestly, it's a lot different now than it was then. Back then, it was like finding NES games and Super Nintendo games, and those prices were going through the roof then. But now it's transitioned from that to the Nintendo 64, and it's starting to move towards the GameCube. Now, I am mentioning those because honestly, that is where the money lies. The money is going up, and Nintendo 64 games have already hit it, and those are skyrocketing. And GameCube games were expensive, but they're starting to peak up in value. And so the first thing you have to figure out is what you want to collect. Now, when someone asks me specifically how to start, I always say pick one console with games that you will play. Now, pick that one console and find games that you will enjoy and play and have fun with, and then later on start to actually grow your collection. That's how I did it. When I was a kid, I had games, I loved playing them, I didn't really consider it collecting, but once I started actually collecting, I said, okay, I want this console and I want these games. And for me, that was the NES and the Nintendo 64 because I played both of those when I was a kid and I absolutely loved it. However, those are somewhat expensive, so you gotta think about what you want to do. So that is the hard part. Finding what console to start with will definitely make or break your budget as well. So if you have a small budget, you don't want to go with something like the GameCube because those games tend to be more expensive. You would want to go with something like maybe the PlayStation 2, the Xbox original, because those games tend to be a little bit cheaper, but were from the same time period as the GameCube. Now, for me, if I was going to start, I've got 4 or 5 different consoles I would suggest based on cheapness, and that's really for the budget gamer, the gamer that doesn't want to spend much, but still wants to get the value out of it and have a good collection of good games. This is where it gets tricky. I always suggest the Xbox original, the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 3, the PlayStation Portable, Xbox 360 games. Those games were mass produced. They're wonderful games and the systems with those games. And honestly, you could probably find them at thrift stores or flea markets or pawn shops or places that are going to sell you the games cheaper than maybe what the eBay prices are or the price charting differences are. Because honestly, I love to start a collection with cheap games that I'm going to love to play that are fun for me and enjoyable. Because like, if I found, say, a PlayStation 2, if I was collecting for PlayStation 2 and I found Guitar Hero with a guitar in a Goodwill or a thrift store or a pawn shop, I would pick it up because it's going to be a fun game. I remember when those games came out. It's very nostalgic for me, but also it's a ton of fun and they aren't really that expensive. Now, the games are really cheap. The guitars are a different story. Some of those games are guitars are expensive, some are not. But the game itself is pretty cheap. So I always select a console when I'm telling someone, hey, what kind of games do you like? Figure out what games you like and figure out what console works with that that's definitely within your budget. For me, I think the Xbox original has to be my good go-to because I love the system. I am a fan. Now, I have a bunch of Xbox games now. However, I still find them. I find Xbox games for $2 to $3 to $4 each. And honestly, for me, that's awesome. I can try new games at $3 a piece. And if I don't like it, I might throw it on the shelf or I could sell it with a bundle or something like that. So finding a system that has good games that are cheap and a system that you like has got to be the #1. Find a system that you can play that you yourself can find it easily, find games for it pretty easily, and find the console. You gotta find the console for a good price as well. We are gonna go ahead and move forward and talk about as if we were picking up for the Xbox Original. It's easy. I think it's a really good system, and so from here on out, I'll refer to it. So if you notice that, you can interchange that with whatever console you want. But the Xbox Original is a great system. So what I would do if I was starting a game collection is I've already picked my console. It's the Xbox Original. We're going to go ahead and move past that. We're going to look at what games I would like. What games do I enjoy playing? What games have I played in the past? And what games have I heard about that I think would be pretty fun? Now, there's a ton of awesome resources on the internet, online. You can find everything everywhere. What I would do is go to price charting and go to the game section of the Xbox Original, and you can sort by price, so you can figure out if the game is $100 or $2. Then that's a good starting point. You can figure out, okay, this system has games that I want to play that are $10 or $40. You can figure that out pretty quickly. And so once you figure out the games you kind of think you might want to play, you can also do some cool research on the other side of that. You can find walkthroughs of games. You can also find like playthroughs. Like YouTube is a great place to figure out if you would like a game if you're gonna buy something. So maybe you find a $30 game at a thrift store for $5 and you're like, oh, I don't know if I would play this. You can go ahead, pull up YouTube on your phone and look it up and see gameplay and be like, I actually would play that. So you can pick it up. So that is something that I always check out, is look online, whether it's YouTube or Google or wherever you go, you can figure out if you would play that game and enjoy it. Really, if you're not enjoying the games, what's the point? So we figured out what console we want, what games we want. Now we gotta find the games. What do? Do you just go on eBay and buy all those games? Well, actually you can. That is probably the easiest and quickest way to find games. However, you're not gonna be able to get the best deal on eBay. You might find a few deals, but you're not gonna find the $40 game for $3 on eBay. I hate to break it to you, you probably won't find that. However, you can find eBay and figure out what a game is going for, then maybe go over to like Mercari, which is where I check for other games. Then, if that's too much, you can go to thrift stores, flea markets, you can go to Goodwill, Salvation Army, you can do pawn shops, you can do garage sales, estate sales. There are a ton of ways to find games. Now here's kind of a caveat that might help you and may not actually grow your Xbox Original collection. What I do is I like to actually search and see if I can find a game, whether or not it's an Xbox Original game or another game, at the thrift stores and all those places that I said, because if you can find a game there that's worth $10 and maybe you spend $4, that's a $6 difference. Maybe you could trade that for a game you wanted, or maybe you could sell it on eBay or Mercari, maybe even trade it into GameStop. I don't know if you want to do that. That's just something you could do. Maybe a local game store would give you more credit than $4. But there's a way to do it where you can actually get more value out of games you probably won't want to pick up. So like if I was in the store and I was looking for Xbox Original games and I see a PlayStation 2 game that's worth $15 for $4, I'm gonna pick it up. I'm gonna pick it up and I will sell it or trade it or do something like that. However, when you do this, I wouldn't say try to get as much money as possible. I usually, like I said before, use price charting. I try to figure out what the price is, and whether or not I want to sell it quickly, I'll put it below that price, or if I want to just send it out there and let it sit for a few days or however long it takes, I'll do whatever price charting says, because that's an average. Sometimes you get games for selling for more and less, but honestly, that could definitely help you. If you've got only PlayStation 2 games at your Goodwill and you're looking for Xbox Original games, it's going to be hard. But if you pick up those PlayStation 2 games and do a little work, make sure they're clean, and maybe test them if you have a PlayStation 2, you can then go ahead and trade them into a store or sell them yourself or trade with other people on like Facebook Marketplace or sell it there. You might be able to get enough money to say, well, I spent 20 bucks on these 5 games at Goodwill. Maybe that'll turn into like 40 or 50, and you can actually buy like 2 or 3 Xbox original games that you would want to pick up. So I think that is something you've got to think about. Taking games that you wouldn't necessarily buy or play and turning that into profit if you can. It's something I definitely try to do. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. That is how I would do it if I was starting fresh, no games, no collection, and kind of no idea of what to do. If I was questioning how do I start a game collection, that's what I would do. Figure out what one system I would love to own and what system is within my budget, and then I would go and try to find those games. Now, I would also research them and figure that out. And if I do find other games, I would at least kind of know them, have price charting or eBay sold listings or something like that to know what the value of those games is. And then I could profit from that and then eventually roll that into my original Xbox collection. So if you are looking to grow a collection or start a collection, I think this video and these steps would definitely help you. It is something that I did when I started, and I've noticed other people kind of do similar things, and I think this is the way to do it. Find games that you're gonna love, because that's what this is all about. It's not just to have a cool shelf behind you or something you can take pictures with. These are to play and have fun with. That's why I have this TV back behind me. That thing weighs a ton and is a pain when moving it around. However, playing games that are old school, like I have a PlayStation 2 hooked up to it now, it's just so much fun, and so I enjoy picking up games that I want to play, games I haven't ever played that look fun and are cheap, and that's how I started my collection. I didn't start with a bunch of money. I did all of it with just buying and selling games, and it definitely helped. So if this helps you, let me know in the comments, let me know, but that's all I got. Peace. See you later.